Hello and welcome back to DriveDriverDriven. I'm Humble and it's about the first real sunny day we've had on a weekend since, I don't know, December. We finally get some nice weather here in California. If you're not from the area, we have these things called atmospheric rivers, or if you're as old as I am, they're called Pineapple Express, where it just dumps a ton of rain over the course of a very short period of time, like a couple of days. So, like, think of hurricane type rain without the winds, all crammed into about 3 days. And we've had these things every other week for basically the last few months. We're over it. We're tired of rain. We're done with our drought. We're definitely ready for spring or almost summer, you know, at this rate. But anyway, since we have some nice weather and it's time to start thinking about nice weather, I want to get a little more work done on the Zero. And so I've got a nice little project today that I think we'll be able to take care of, and we have to do a little bit of forethought for the next project. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So on the back of the Zero, we have this boot cover, which I got courtesy of my friend Sean and a bad part supply thanks to GBS. Sean has a Gen 2 car, and mine is a Gen 1, and these boot covers are not compatible. You have to have one or the other. So I was able to just get this off of Sean, and I want to put it on the car. And you see, as it's kind of laid out here, we've got these white marks where buttons are supposed to be, so that you can quickly snap it on and snap it off when you put it into place. Now, there's a couple of considerations here with how it comes around these corners when you pull it tight and where it sits against the roll bar here. And then there's this sort of trim piece of angle that comes across. And originally I was going to try and pinch this section between this chassis member and this sort of decorative piece, but I don't know that that'll hold it well enough. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to button these in place to this trim piece, and then when we come around, let's see, over, well, it'll be this guy on this side, and then this guy over here. These two buttons on each side need to be doubled up. And so what that means is there will be a male side on the body and then a female side on this side, which couples to another male side on the outside. And that's because on our cover we have these straps that need to come down, and those are held in place by this button on the end, and that has to go back here. So you have to double up on this one so that you can run both the top and the boot cover at the same time. I'm going to say installation is fairly simple. We'll see how that pans out, but basically there is some nice stitching lines that help you determine where the edge should be. And then again, it's just a matter of pulling it taut, which is kind of hard to do with one hand holding the camera, but with this line in place up here, we should be able to stretch this guy over the edge and then mark in place our buttons and rivets so that everything snaps down tightly. Now, something I might do before we put everything on for the last time is actually take this cover and just set it out here in the sun so it can warm up and soften up a bit, so it's a little more stretchy, a little more pliable. And I can set that out, let it warm up while I'm taking these seat belts off and getting this piece of trim ready. It's just a piece of angle iron, like I said. Another consideration is, as you can see, the boot cover goes over where the belt sits. So once these holes are set and once this piece of trim, everything is done, I need to come back and punch a hole through the leather where these studs come through so that we can belt everything down through the cover. So what I might do is actually pull this taut first, punch a hole, and then try to seal everything down. Just pinch it with this first. And if that doesn't work, then I'll go with my original idea, which is to put the buttons in here. We'll see. Either way, it doesn't matter what you do, because in order to get this top off again, you'll have to remove the seat belt. So I'm kind of fighting with that idea at the moment. So we'll do the simple method first, see if it holds well enough to pull it taut, and if so, I might just stick with that. If not, we'll go back with that first idea to put buttons in and then do it that way. So enough yakking, let's get to it. Alright, so there we go. There's the finished product. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. All it needs to do is offer some kind of protection over the boot and look better than an open hole, which I think it does. It's a little tricky getting these corners lined up. You could see I probably struggled with it a bit in a time lapse, and like over here is not really perfect because there's a weird piece of the chassis that's right behind here, and my drill bit broke in the hole, so I had to push the broken piece of drill bit through, which I was able to do, and then I could get that snap in. But otherwise, I think the trick is to start with this back section, and as you can see, I just punched holes for our seatbelt bolts, and then I tucked it underneath this trim piece, and then these actual belt loops push this piece of trim down, pinching this boot cover, and it holds pretty damn well. So that's the route I decided to take there. And then over to the sides, with that all more or less straight, getting it around these roll bars, and then off to the side, you can see I had some extra material here. So what I did is I rolled it up underneath like that and then punched through it, which would take up the extra material and sort of hide it a little bit under the edge there. Again, not perfect, but this is sort of a one-size-fits-all cover, and it fits okay. The snaps and buttons, not too much to say there. If you haven't done snaps or buttons before, it's really easy. For the male side of the snap, you can see I just drilled holes and they rivet to the body, and that's the easy part. On the other side, you have this sort of backing piece, and then you have the female side of the snap, and there's a little what looks like a rivet piece or like a stem of material that comes up through the middle, and then you use this tool here to smash it down. And if everything was perfect, it would make a nice little round stopper in there, but none of these came out perfect, so they all looked kind of mashed in there like that, but you don't see it anyway, so that's okay. And then the tricky ones were here. These are the through buttons, or the double buttons. So I have, there's the male side here, then I have the female side, which goes through to another male side, and that is so that when this is all snapped together and we put the top on later, the top has a brace or a tie down that fastens here, and then that'll keep the top tight side to side. So yeah, not too shabby, nice little project. I really like how it came out and how it kind of cleans up the back of the car a little bit, just furthermore finishes it off. Like I said, don't mind the wrinkles too much, and no matter how tight it is here, once it gets in the sun, it'll loosen up and it'll be fine. Wanted to interject a quick little note here. I realized after I finished filming that I wanted to sort of give a tip on fitting the cover, even though mine's not perfect, but I think this will help people in the future. Is if you watch the way I do it, I started with the back here, and I got that set first, and then I went over to this side to sort of pull it over, and I did this one, and then I did the opposite side over here to pull it that way, and that sort of sets the squareness, I guess, if you will, of the whole cover. And then I worked my way sort of one section at a time. So I did this snap next to help pull tension over here, and then I did this one around the corner, because with this one and this one set, I can take this fabric or leather or whatever the cover is and pull it down, stretch it down, so that I can then do the corner pieces. And it was like that for the other side as well, starting here, and then this piece on the back, and then doing the same two on the corner. For the middle piece, what I did was pulled everything straight, put our middle button in, and then with that one done, I did the two sides at the same time to, again, pull it diagonally, stretch it, and make sure that I could get the middle of this as smooth as possible. And I think that's, at least from this initial setup, I think that's probably the easiest way to go about it, versus trying to do maybe the back first or what have you, or try to set the corners first and then stretch the material forward. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly make a note of that before moving on. For the sharp-eyed viewers who stuck around and are waiting for me to explain this mess, well, this is for the next project. Yeah, I know I have I'm doing a lot. But there's a method to my madness. The sharp-eyed viewers who know their stuff will recognize that these are Miata NA, NB parts. So Miata knuckles front and rear, a pumpkin, 5-speed transmission, all this stuff I got used, as you can tell, and all of it needs to be torn down, blasted, refinished. The transmission has to be completely rebuilt, and the differential is it starts life as a Torsen diff, but I'm actually swapping that out for an OS Gaiken diff. And we'll see why later on, but that's all I'm going to say about this. There are big things coming, something you've seen a little bit before, and a lot of it is just development. So yeah, look forward to more of that in the next couple of months. It's going to be sort of slow going and behind the scenes, lining stuff up, getting vendors secured, working with a lot of great people, and setting up some travel with regards to that project. And that'll be over the summer months. So honestly, I can't wait. I'm really super stoked about this. But for now, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.